Hello, it's Gene. I thought I want to talk about some of the things that's happened in the news and just my observations, some of the important things and not so important things. I don't know really where I want to start, but let's talk about the fight. The UFC 229, Conor McGregor versus Khabib. I can't say the last name. I can't talk well, so I can't say that last name. I thought the fight went about what I thought was going to happen. Although, leading up to the fight, I kind of got the idea that possibly that Conor might be able to hit him on his way in and might actually stop Khabib. I keep forgetting that when he fought Barbosa, that Barbosa hit him with a kick to his head, and Khabib just walked right through that. And so I think that as great as Conor supposedly when it comes to striking, if you get hit by a kick where you're supposed to get hit, normally that knocks people out. And Khabib just walked right through it and end up putting him down and making him quit. Basically, what he did to Conor as well. So clearly, the easiest thing the entire thing was if he got him down, can Conor get up? And can he deal with it? And we found out he couldn't. And at the end of the day, he choked him out. Um, so it was a good fight. You still thought there was a chance in the middle of the fight that maybe Conor might actually hit him, but he did a couple times. And you know what? Khabib just kept on and kept saying that ain't enough. So good for him. Everything inside the octagon, well done. We find out today is Monday, that during, I guess, the second or third round at the chain over, Conor told Khabib that it was his business. So clearly, Khabib was talking to him the entire time about you shouldn't have been saying what you said, all that shit. And at the end of it, in the middle of the fight, he said it was just business. Okay. This is where I'm going to really get into about the motivation of the white man. Okay. Because I went into a lot of discussions with people on Twitter after the fight and all this stuff. They started talking about how Khabib had stopped white supremacy, and I'm like, oh, wait a second here. Yes, he's a Muslim, but that's not a race. That's an ideology. It's a religion, and he's as white as you can possibly be. He's a Caucasian. He comes from the Caucasus Mountains. He's a Russian. He is just as white as anybody else. So, all of a sudden, when I brought this up, these people were like, "Oh," and they didn't respond to me. I think they really thought that a Muslim is a race. So anyway, and that goes. There's more about that I tweeted out and my views on the fight. Exactly after it started, when Khabib went in the crowd, I was like, that's nothing different than when Jose did it when he was in Brazil, and I just got something from my reeler. Okay, it's no different than when Conor did it when he ran into Jose. Fortunately, at that time, Jose didn't try to beat him at that time to hit him in the crowd, and we didn't have a melee. So what happened after that, and the people who went in the ring, that's too much. Okay. Now, at the end of the fight, the UFC broadcasters, because they're all run by Dana White and Dana White, Dana White, and they control all this stuff, and they're saying that their guys will never be able to come back to the country, and they're going to strip Khabib and all this stuff, and they just make it all about Khabib. Now, it's true. His teammate shouldn't have went in there, and he shouldn't have gone over the outside the ring. But now that we have different people, they didn't show us the other angles, and it's like they were trying to defend Conor, and they said that he'll look like the victim here. Okay, I have a hard problem to look at him as a victim here, but anyway, they had this whole thing, this narrative they were trying to do. But now there are a lot of cell phone footage out that it showed that Conor was trying to get outside the cage as well, and he was pulled back in, and he actually took the first punch inside the ring. I don't know we don't know enough about what Khabib was doing outside the ring. It looked like he just flew into there and he was swarmed onto. I don't think he actually hit anybody. Um, he shouldn't have done it, and he apologized after that. Whatever. Um, but Connor did it as well, and then those guys hit him, and those guys should be banned or they should not be allowed to fight or whatever. But did Artem Lobov, and then none of the people that Connor was with when they went and destroyed the bus and injured a couple of people, I don't think any of those people have been cut from the UFC if they were in the UFC. So it's all becomes WWE at that point, and I don't have any respect for the UFC when it came to this, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm all about free speech, and I don't have no problem with trash talking, but there should be a line that you say that you're not going to talk about. I don't even think that Ali would do this. When Connor sometimes get compared to Ali, and I don't think Ali put in people's families into his diatribe against his opponent. He might have called Fraser like basically a house nigger, but there's a little bit more to this when we talk about someone's religion and all that thing. I would say that I'm sure that Ali would have been very upset if Fraser brought up that he was a Muslim and Muslims are stupid or whatever, and I'm sure that Ali would have had some offense to that. Here I am. I'm not trying to do anything for the Muslim people here, but there is different sects of Muslim, and I don't really know what Khabib is. Maybe there are people in his country that look like me, that are Muslim, and they could be terrorists and all that shit. It doesn't mean anything. But this guy took it personally, and he told everybody he was going to smash him and basically make sure that he apologizes. And he did. Connor actually apologized in the ring. So it's kind of funny. And normally Connor, after the fight, he's very apologetic or whatever, or he's very nice in the thing after. But he ran into the wrong guy, and a guy that's better than him in almost every area. I mean, the only one that got a knockdown was Khabib. Now, Connor looks more fluid when he comes to striking, but Khabib just knocked him down. So, will they have a rematch? I don't know. I really don't care at this point. I'll watch it, of course. And, of course, Connor can adapt, and maybe he'll do something better this time. Just from looking at it from a fight, it looked like to me before the fight that Connor was carrying way too many muscles in his upper body. Now, I get it, he knows he's dealing with a grappler, but it didn't look like he was on fight night. He looked a little bit slower than normal. He almost looked like he did the first time he fought Diaz. He was coming in at 169, but his upper body was so much bigger. And when they stand back to each other, when you look at Khabib and Connor, he looked bigger than Khabib, but Khabib walks around like at 190, 200. So he's one of those, and he probably at $200, 200 pounds, he could probably beat a lot of guys at that weight level. He could be smaller at that as far as height weighs, but he's got that natural born strength because he's not bigger. He doesn't look bigger than a lot of guys he fights, but once he gets him down, you can't get him off you. So I thought he did better than some of the other fighters that have fought Khabib. He got up a couple times and he hit him a couple of shots, but at some point as a striker, it's kind of like Tyson. If you can take Tyson's punch, then he loses his confidence, and when the bully gets knocked down, then they loses their confidence. And he's the same way. He's the same type of fighter. So if he became more like he was against Alvarez, I don't know what would happen. He would have to hit Khabib probably a lot of times to knock him out, and there's always a possibility that would happen. But anyway, so the really interesting thing after the fight was I started thinking about the motivation. This guy said it was all about, you said this about my religion and my family and all that stuff, and the motivation that Muslim people have for the future, and their reverence for the past, and how we in the Westerners, the Europeans in the West, don't really give a shit about our past. Connor brought it up, but we find out that his grandfather actually was killing Irish people during their wars. He was basically an Englishman, because Khabib brought that up. That, hey, if you're in Ireland, why are you speaking English? I mean, it's a fair point to make after all this stuff. Nobody really wanted to talk about that at that point, but he was making a very important clarification. But the motivation that as those people have, and I'm talking about Muslims in general, that they want to take over the world. And I don't know, again, I don't know how deep into it that Khabib is, if he's part of that part of Muslims. I don't know. I don't believe that per se. He seems like a very respectable man, except for what he did at the end of the fight. But so here we as the people, the Europeans in the West, we don't have that motivation. We basically want to take our history and just poop on it and say that it was all bad, that we were racist, that we're colonizers, imperialists, and all this stuff, that we were we were involved with everything that was bad, and we continually just want to just poop on it or shit on it. So when that happens, and then your young men have so much nihilism going right now that everybody is shaming them, it's kind of hard to expect that our future is going to be able to stop those men that have the motivation saying that our cause is correct, and we're going to do everything we're going to do, and they do it by breeding with our women, getting infecting our media, because there's two different types of Semites that's coming right here. Again, not so much when you look at, because like I said, Muslims are not a race, okay? Jewish people are, but these are two different type of, when you talk about Muslims in the Middle East and how their views are, and Sunnis, Shia, whatever they are, they're both Semites. You know, everybody talks about whenever you say something about Jewish people that you're being anti-Semitic. Well, Arabs are Semites as well. I could be wrong there, but I think that it's true. And I've heard a lot of Jewish people online. They just say things out because right now nobody calls them out, and they'll just be online talking about, you know, at the end of the day, they're still our brothers. The Arabs and the Jewish people are still brothers. And really, that their cause is to destroy the West. So at the end of the day, we're like well below. You know, they want us to use us. But anyway, the point I'm just trying to make is simply this, is that if we don't defend, if we don't breed, that sounds so crazy to say, but if we don't have families and respect the fathers in the house, look at the family as the most important thing in the world, defend our borders, close down the borders to a point. The culture, the people that have motivation are going to take it over. They're going to take over all resources. It's been that way forever. Men always go to the places where the resources are. And if the men are not going to defend their lands, just like the 300s or whatever, then what will happen is the new men will come in and they'll mate with the women, and that'll be their culture from now on. Because women don't really have a say when it comes at the end. Okay, they can have this, they can get up there. We have a lot of great women that are in the alt-right, let's say, that are saying great things, but they know, deep down they know that if we don't stop them, that they have to deal with the aftermath, and the aftermath will be not a good thing for them. So that leads me to the bigger story about Brett Kavanaugh and what happened there. It's a very hard thing because of my family. My wife kind of thinks that he did some of the things that he's been claimed for. Of course, she doesn't research any of this. She watches mainstream TV in the morning news, and she believes these little snippets stuff. She does. But then I said, what if she says basically based on class that they think that men are like that because they're from powerful families that they think they can do whatever they can do to women. And so apparently she's following the same paradigm that feminisms believe. And I said it before that he was a scalp for the feminist movement in this country. That he was the epitome of white patriarchal males. Somebody my age, he's the same age as me. You know, I'm over 50, white. I'm the guy that's the biggest problem in the world, even though we're the ones that saved everybody, that we developed stuff, that we invented stuff that saved millions and millions of people, billions at some point. These are the same people now that are going to basically take over Europe. I mean, we saved Europe or Africa from all the disease and the wars and with our medicine and all that stuff, and now they think they're entitled to come to Europe. And I saw this on Twitter last night. There is a study out there that they think that Europe can house another 2 billion people. They said something crazy thing like 400 million should go to Sweden. I guess you could, if you can live up in the Arctic Circle, maybe, but this is the plan. And it depends who has the motivation. And regardless, we're the biggest minority in the world. We're 10% of the entire population of the world. And we're trying to get past the whole tribalship between Irish against the English and Germans against the French and whatever. We have to get together as a people to defend that, to defend the Western values that we have. And it just dovetails really into what happened, that the left came out in this country that basically they didn't care about evidence, that basically an accusation with no evidence is enough to derail somebody. They claim it as a job interview because they feel like he's not going to suffer if he decides to step down because there's an accusation, regardless of what happens. But this happens to men so much, and they come out with these crazy ass statistics like 2%. It's all bullshit. It's a lot more than that. When it's actually studied from a non-biased entity, we know it's around 30 to 40% of all accusations are false. And I've said it before in my videos, and this is something when I first started talking about this type of things, is that women like to do this for attention. Sometimes they get money out of it. And clearly this woman got both. She's going to get attention. I'm assuming she'll go on every TV show, but she may not. But she doesn't have to. She's a heroine. When she goes back to her university, she'll be looked at as a heroine. And I'll put down a video from Janice who is an anti-feminist, who is an academic from Canada, who actually talked about where she teaches and how their echo chamber is so into that white patriarchy, all that type of thing. And almost to the point you think that this woman, Dr. Ford, thought that she was doing something good. And whether or not she lied, and she did. I mean, there's no question that this did not happen. There's pictures of her when she was 15. She looked like she was 12. She wasn't, again, guys who rape doesn't really care what you look like. I get it. And we know that almost without fail, that if you're a sexual predator, you don't stop being one until you're caught. And he did nothing as an adult. I'm sorry, walking around, if he did this and he was drunk and he was at a dorm and he threw out his dick, that would not have stopped me from saying that he could be on the Supreme Court. I mean, the puritanical left right now is just crazy when it comes to shit like this. But at the same time, they want people that are dressed up as drag queens to teach our kids in high school or in kindergarten, and they push these ideas about family when it comes just what's considered normal in this country. And I don't really give a shit if you want to be that way as an adult, but don't come to my school and teach my kid that it's okay. Because most boys, when they're young, sometimes grow up. I have pictures of my son, she was in one of her sister's dresses when he was 2 years old, and he would put wet wigs on and stuff. That doesn't mean that when he becomes a kid or an adult that he wants to be a female. And we're getting to the point right now, well, they know it that early on that, no, they don't, because your brain is not informed. This is the weird thing that I have with the left. The left talks about they're all about science, but they're not. Our science knows that your brain doesn't really form till your late 20s. So why would you allow anybody to make that decision when they're 12 or 13 to have a change in their sex? But anyway, and if the state comes in and says it's okay and the parents are out of the thing, that's whatever. But back to Brett Kavanaugh. The left has basically said they don't care about and if it's innocent until proven guilty, because this wasn't a court that they were in. But yet, if you lied to the Senate, you could be charged under a felony or perjury. So it was a court, and whether they want to say it or not, that you can't lie when it comes to that. And the problem is that we live in this culture that there is no way, even if the information was out there and the evidence was out there, that Dr. Ford was lying, nobody is going to go and now prosecute her, because we won't do it. as bad as everybody thinks on the left that really are into this shit, that says now that we're all against women, which is the craziest thing in the world, as I've said many times on this channel, in the West, women are the most privileged entities in the history of man, and they are. And anybody with any rational, logical evidence, or look at it through evidence, would know this is true. It's not strange to me that a lot of people that were in the national organizations of women, charter presidents or presidents themselves of the entire group, have come out and they become more right over the years, and because they know that what the feminists have become, it's just gone crazy. And what we saw was the epitome of this. And people want to say that's far left. It's not. The party itself is moved so far that these people are mainstream in their party. And I only hope that, everybody talks about there's going to be this blue wave in November, but now with all what happened with Kavanaugh, maybe the red wave will come out. But you can't vote for guys that are just shills for people like Murkowski or something. You can't. You have to find somebody that's going to stop the borders, be more populist like Trump is, not just a rhino. You have to find somebody that can do it. Failing, if we can't get that, obviously you have to go Republican and not Democrat, because you just can't. There's only one decent Democrat out there, and that's Manchin at this point. But it's funny because a lot of people are not saying this is. They're actually starting to wake up. I've been talking about this for a long time. That these type of things, especially on campuses, that just accusations can destroy a kid's career. And they say the same thing that they did about Brett Kavanaugh. Well, it's okay if one or two guys are falsely accused, because that way you don't have to worry about women and all this stuff, and we don't care about them, and they lose their scholarships, and they can't do that, and they're labeled a rapist. But that's okay, as long as we get most of them are found out. And you see that DeVos is trying to stop that thing with the dear colleague from 2011 to make it a higher standard. And Senator Collins actually talked about that. She didn't talk about that per se, but she said I had to look at whether it's more than likely or not, which is what they're doing at college campuses right now, and that's destroying a lot of guys' careers just based on, it's basically 50.1 to 50 or 49.9 that we believe that person more, and then that's enough. No evidence, and he said it doesn't even meet that. So, and people just understand that. But that's exactly what's happening on campuses right now. And when the problem is when the entire campus is liberal, with about 25 to 1, you have liberal versus conservative professors. You don't have the reason, you have no right to cross-examine the accuser, and they just think that that's okay. And they've been growing up on this shit since this radical leftist ideas started the last 40, 50 years ago. But now it's not radical anymore. It's part of the left, and it's why I left the country. Why I left that country, or the party, and it causes issues because too many people do not really research any of this stuff. And I just say to my wife, if it was our son, would you believe him if somebody accused him? Because this happened to my son almost, and they want to weaponize this type of accusation, and I'm not going to sit there and say that Me Too was a good thing or bad thing. I don't think it was a good thing. I still believe in responsibility for the women in this. If this happened to you, you need to report it. I'm tired of us just coddling women when it comes to shit like this. To a point, if you're young, it's 13, 14, okay. To a point, you're not an adult. But if this happens to you when you're older than that, or if you're in college and you don't report it, and that means other women are being subject to it. And Critical Condition actually did that in one of her videos. At the end of it, she talks about it. I said, it's not parade to come out 20 or 36 years later and spin a story that has no evidence whatsoever, and now you're called brave and all this stuff, when you could have done it back then. We just coddle women way too much when it comes to this, and they think that we hate women. No, we want you to be part of the conversation. We want you to be responsible for taking our human race and our Western values forward. And right now, your epiphany, I can't even say the word, your feelings is allowing a lot of bad things to come in the West because you want to help people. Instead of looking at why the West is so great and you don't want to defend that, you just want to, oh, I feel so bad. I saw it on TV. I got to do something about it. Um, anyway, I'm rambling a lot now. But anyway, the week was interesting. Um, I'm glad that Brett got nominated, but this guy is not a right-wing guy. He's a moderate Republican. He'll hopefully follow the Constitution. But still, this is so important that we won in 2016, that Trump was the president. If not, we would have had 7 liberal judges, and who knows would have been the law of the land. What we'd be looking at right now. I think that, people on the left are so paranoid that we hate women, and now basically women have no rights or whatever. And they're worried that this conservative twerp judge is going to basically take away all your rights. I don't want to be as paranoid, but when the left gets enough power, they will take your individuation from you and your rights from you. And I'm so happy that we have a decent conservative mindset on the court right now, and hopefully we'll get somebody else. Anyway, let me know what you think about the fight, about the Brett Kavanaugh situation, and I'll put down that video from Janice Flamingo. She's obviously a lot better than me at talking. And also, I'll probably put down critical conditions thing as well. She talked at length about dealing with the fact that people that she knew in high school, or excuse me, in university, basically disavows her because she's conservative and she believes in traditional values. I think I would call her alt-white. But anyway, there are so many out there that just need to be waking up. If we don't do this, that motivation I talk about is not waning on that side. They look at all the resources that we have in this country. They want it. And we need to stand up, white men. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.